Fighting one terrorist group with another, we ask if Washington's policy in Syria could backfire after the US-backed YPG hands over territory to the regime. Also on today's program, free speech quashed on campus. Indian students face off over questions of nationalism. I'm Imran Garda and this is the Newsmakers. The battle lines have constantly been redrawn throughout Syria's 6-year war. And in a conflict where the enemy of my enemy is my friend, the latest stroke may have raised the stakes. The YPG, the Syrian chapter of the PKK terror group, has handed over territory to the Syrian regime. Territory that now blocks Turkey's advance in its fight against Daesh, and a move that stops it from being able to enforce its demand that the YPG retreats back over the Euphrates River. Turkey considers it unfathomable that its NATO ally, the United States, continues to back the group. So, will the US insistence on working with a terror group to take out another, Daesh, end up backfiring? And what will Turkey's next move be? Today's newsmaker is the YPG, and we begin with this report from Yvette McCullough.
They're two terrorist organisations battling each other on the front lines. But where one poses a threat to the US, the other serves its strategic interests. The YPG, the Syrian wing of the PKK, has been fighting Daesh with US support in Syria for years now. That's despite the objections of its NATO ally, Turkey. The YPG is the largest faction of the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, and now they've handed over territory to Assad's forces. The Manbij Military Council has given territory west of Manbij city to the Syrian regime in a deal it says it made with Russia that now gives it a buffer against the advance of Turkish-backed Free Syrian Army fighters. This deal could now potentially give the YPG a land bridge from the Kandil Mountains, the PKK's headquarters, right across northern Syria. But Turkey says moving the group from Manbij is its next priority, in an effort to prevent the expansion of a network that has taken thousands of Turkish lives.
These towns and cities belong to their people, and we have to give them back. So if the YPG doesn't withdraw from Manbij, we will attack. We have warned them repeatedly. This threat is not new.
A stern warning from Turkey to the YPG, but following through could now mean Turkey has to directly face off with the Syrian regime or the US. Washington says the YPG doesn't pose any threat to Turkey and has deployed ground troops in the region to prevent fighting between Turkish-backed forces and the YPG. They also say they need the YPG in the upcoming fight against Daesh in Raqqa.
Do I anticipate that there will be some Kurds in that force? Yes, I do. Mainly because, first of all, because there are Kurds from Raqqa. It's a predominantly Arab area, but there are Kurds from there. So there are going to be Kurds assaulting Raqqa for sure.
What impact will the US's relationship with the YPG have in its relationship with its ally Turkey? And is the US policy short-sighted, fighting one terrorist threat with another? Yvette McCullough, the Newsmakers.
Well, to discuss this, I'm joined by Talha Kurse. He's a Turkish security and politics specialist at the research institute SETA. And from London, Abdullah Hawez. He's a researcher in Middle East Studies at King's College. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Talha, let's start with you. The YPG grabbing hold of some territory and handing it over to the regime. How significant is that?
I think there are some repercussions about this issue, but there is no clear evidence that they are handing over the territory to the regime. So there is not a clear agreement on this. But this, if it happens, I think this will be a controversial policy, because if you look at the field, YPG, PYD is cooperating with US and regime forces are cooperating with Russia. So their policies are not in line with each other. So if this happens, this will be a tactical move, and I don't think this will long for a long time. So PYD YPG is trying to keep its territories and does not want to allow to Turkey to control this area. So I think if this happens, this will be a tactical move and this will not continue for a long time. But in the broader deal, in the broader planning, dealing with the ISIS and dealing with the Raqqa issue is a major issue. So they are trying to gain some time to keep Manbij in their control. And previously, the American administration promised Turkey that these areas that are controlled by now at the Manbij area will be left to other forces. So the PYD will leave this area to either to regime or other opposition forces.
Okay. Abdullah, let's bring you in here and talk about the United States. So Lieutenant General Stephen Townsend says, hey, he's got assurances that these YPG forces, they have no designs on Turkey, they have nothing to do with Turkey, they don't support terrorism against Turkey, in the face of overwhelming evidence that they are the Syrian chapter of the PKK. Is the US naive, or is the US just playing realpolitik here?
Well, if I may, I want to begin with a very quick comment on the report, and then I'll answer the question. I think focusing on calling YPG a terrorist group is not helpful for the Syrian case, and it's not helpful for Turkey either, because YPG, whether Turkey likes it or not, it's part of the conflict in Syria, and they are controlling a large swath of territory, which is at least 20% of the land, and it's mostly bordering Turkey. So I think, regardless of the U.S. comments of the U.S. colonel, which I think they may just try to calm down the tense between Turkey and YPG, but that should not be the focus of Turkey's relation with YPG. I think, regardless of what U.S. thinks, YPG and Turkey should start at some point being flexible to each other and start negotiating, because at the end, YPG is a de facto force, one of the leading forces in Syria, and Turkey is Syria's neighbor. So at the end, I think they should sit in the negotiating table and negotiate, because this is the only solution. If Turkey focuses on calling YPG terrorists and YPG calling Turkey occupation force, this is not going to solve the problem, because these two are neighboring countries, and the only solution, I think, is negotiations.
Okay, so let's ask Talha. Talha, as okay, hold on for a second, Abdullah. So Abdullah says it's not helpful for Turkey to call the YPG a terror organization, even though they are the Syrian chapter of the PKK. So what Abdullah is saying is essentially what the US is saying is, okay, at home, if they blow stuff up and they kill civilians, they're terrorists. But in Syria, you need to solve Syria, so can't you see them a little bit differently?
I completely disagree with this view. So YPG does not necessarily represent the moderate view in Syria, and YPG is an extension of PKK, and PKK attacks Turkey. There are clear evidence that the bombs made in YPG-controlled area comes to Turkey, and it destabilizes Turkey. So one of the major objectives of Turkey in Euphrates Shield operation is to seal Turkey's border from all the terrorist elements that are attacking Turkey, including ISIS and PKK and its Syrian wing YPG. So in the recent months, CENTCOM and some US authorities are trying to make PR campaigns in order to show YPG is a peaceful organization, but there are clear human rights violation reports about YPG, even to Kurds who are not in their view. So this is a radical organization. This is pressing and this is putting pressure on both moderate Kurds and including the other Arabs in the areas that are controlled.
Despite all of that, Talha, the US still feels, hey, we need these guys because they'll help us defeat Daesh. Do you respect that in any way, shape or form, that they're not the worst of the worst, so they're needed to get rid of the worst of the worst?
No, I mean, this idea came through the time when there was a tension between Turkey and Russia, and Turkey was unable to intervene to the field. So the US authorities argued that this is the only existing moderate authority or moderate organization that can, influence, that can take the Raqqa. But this is not true. In the Euphrates Shield operation in the last several months, Turkey demonstrated that its support for the Free Syrian Army is a very effective tool to deal with the ISIS threat. And if this coalition that is led by Turkey increases, it has potential to influence the Raqqa, even take over the Raqqa. So these policies are extension of the Obama policies. So the policies that are designed in Pentagon by CENTCOM. And I think there are no new plans on the table. And I think with the new administration, there may be much more effective plans and policies that may help to take Raqqa back.
We'll have to wait and see. For the moment, we don't see much of a difference. Abdullah, are you content with Turkey sitting back and allowing the YPG to have this land bridge from Kandil all the way across northern Syria and having this entire de facto Kurdistan in northern Syria?
See, first of all, Salah Muslim, the head of PYD, has been in Turkey for a few times when the peace process was going on in Turkey in 2012 and 2013, which that means there is a possibility for Turkey and PYD to sit down and talk. This is first. Second, I won't disagree that PYD is, even if it's not an extension of PKK, they have strong ties. This is true. This is completely true. And Syria's problem has, it's sort of interlinked with the Kurdish issue in Turkey. So of course they both should be solved together. But I'm saying it again, even if Turkey, as I know, Turkey wants YPG to go back to the eastern side of Euphrates, which means they have to give up Manbij, which means YPG will still have a lot of territory along the Turkish borders, which that means Turkey at the end should talk with YPG, as they did with Iraqi Kurds. Iraqi Kurds for Turkey were terrorists until 2007, when eventually they become very strong friends. So the same thing might happen or should happen with the
fair
case
point,
of YPG.
even if they go,
because if one last point, one last point,
yes.
YPG are representing a large. Maybe they are not representing all Kurds in Syria because there are other Kurdish forces, but they are certainly representing some, or I would say a large proportion of Syrian Kurds. So they are representing Syrian Kurds, and they should be included in any talks.
Okay, so even if they go east of the Euphrates, you still have to talk to these guys. Talha?
Well, I completely agree that Syrian Kurds should be represented at the talks, but YPG PYD does not represent completely the Syrian Kurds. So there are more moderate elements within the Syrian Kurds, and they should be supported. So there should be agreement between Turkey and US to support moderate Kurds. And there is also cooperation between Turkey and KDP of the Iraq and Mr. Barzani. I think that may also be another tool. So there is clear disagreement not only between Turkey and US in this issue, but there's also other elements within the Syria are unhappy about YPG in that zone.
Okay, Talha Kose and Abdullah Hawiz, it's been great to have both of you on the program. Thank you very much for joining us. Mass student protests have swept India in a battle over competing loyalties. Critics of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Hindu Nationalist Party say liberalism is under attack on college campuses. It all started when young supporters of the government called for so-called anti-nationals to be barred from speaking on school grounds. For many, the campus clashes are a microcosm of India's divided national politics. Shoaib Hassan has more.
Gulmeher Kaur made a video that got her into a lot of trouble, and it's put her at the center of what's the biggest political debate in India right now: who belongs? The video's message is a call for peace between India and Pakistan, regardless of whether you're a Hindu or a Muslim. The undergraduate's message went viral. Besides being a plea for peace, Gurmeher says her video was also a show of support for student leaders fighting for the rights of minorities in Hindu-majority India. They were recently prevented from speaking at a college because of violent demonstrations by the ABVP, that's the student wing of the ruling Hindu nationalist BJP.
It is about violence, it is about the freedom of expression. University is supposed to be a place wherein all of us can voice our opinions, we can debate and we can discuss. If you dissent something, we can express that.
Other student groups like the ISA rallied to condemn the violence. But dissent can be tricky and dangerous under the BJP and the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Many Indians are worried. They think the Prime Minister's rhetoric, often directed against minorities, and his connections with hardline Hindu groups run contrary to their country's secular values. They also remember his past. In 2002, Narendra Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. That's when 2,000 men, women and children, almost all of them Muslims, were murdered by Hindu gangs during riots. The Prime Minister has always denied any direct involvement, but he's also refused to apologize for that massacre. Critics say Modi's party is now trying to mainstream such anti-minority sentiments. But the BJP says that it's being demonized by its opponents for its success at the ballot box. And yet student protests have increased against the government over worries that religious intolerance is growing. And the latest target is Gurmeher Kaur. A campaign to discredit and ridicule her started soon after she posted her video. She was initially trolled online by celebrities opposed to her call for reconciliation. Then it escalated. She's now shut down all her social media accounts and has been provided police protection. But others have continued their campaign for tolerance. They say they'll stop only when the siege on India's multicultural heritage ends. Shoaib Hassan, the Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now from Delhi is Abhijit Dwivedi. He's the Vice President of the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad organization, the ABVP. That's the nationalist group associated with the ruling BJP party. Thanks so much for joining us, sir. Reading the news, it seems as if Indian students don't have the right to say unpopular things on campus anymore because of your group. Tell me why.
No, that's not the case. In fact, I would rather say that this is a particular kind of manufactured debate which is happening, manufactured protest happening in India. This is a very small group of students who exist in JNU, which is a Kremlin on Yamuna, or it exists in Jadavpur University, which is in Bengal, which has been the hub of the communist regime for a very long period of time in India. The point is that like ABVP as an organization has some 5,000 wings across India, and we are an extremely popular organizations. 90% and student unions are won by us, and we say that even if suppose a student is a citizen of the Republic of Learning, he has certain responsibilities towards the civic nation of India, and in case if this small group, very small group, very minuscule number of students who are doing such things, that the kind of slogans which they are raising are anti-human. I would not just restrict to anti-nation. It is anti-human. It is anti-humanity.
But it sounds as if, sorry to interrupt you, sir, because we don't have a whole lot of time. Sorry to interrupt you. Allow me to come in here. It sounds as if you want one viewpoint on campus. Isn't this what campuses are supposed to be about? They're supposed to be about multiple viewpoints, whether that person is a communist, whether they're for Kashmiri independence, no matter who they like. A campus is a place where you listen to people who say things you don't like and you engage with them. You don't shut them down by calling them anti-national or those guilty of sedition.
See, I am just pointing to a book which is called as Academic Freedom and Academic Anarchy. It was written in 1969 by Sidney Hook, a professor in Washington. The point which I want to bring in through this book is that academic freedom, even academic freedom is an idea which doesn't allow such kind of things. You must have heard about the Bologna Declaration, which is called as a Magna Carta of the university rights. And in there also such kind of people, if you say that we will use weapon, if we are going to kill people to come into power or to assert such kind of use is wrong. Then there is a problem of hate speech. Your country yourself suffers from the cases wherein impressionable minds, young impressionable minds have worked as lone wolf for ISIS. So in that case, the exercise of free speech has to be rational. We don't say that communists can't exist in this campus. We don't say that there cannot be a debate about right to self-determination.
Who made you the arbiter of what is hate speech and what is not?
No, we are not deciding. No, we are not deciding. We just say that let's go by the law. The law of the land. The law of the land of India is Constitution of India, and it under Article 9, if there is a particular chapter which deals with the fundamental rights, which is otherwise called as human rights. If you just go to International Convention of Civil and Political Rights, even there the fundamental freedom for free speech is restricted. If you go to European Convention on Human Rights, there is also such thing.
Okay, Abhijit, but it's not against the Constitution of India to be a communist. There's a communist party in India. Where does it say that it's against the Constitution to be a communist? In your first answer, you said there are communists on campus and we shouldn't be giving them a voice.
No, I don't say that communists can't exist in campuses. I have a simple point that communists can exist in campus, anybody can exist in campus, but the point is he can't say, he can't suggest, he can't advocate balkanization of India. You have to go by the law of the India. Even if you have a larger picture, if you go philosophical discussion, if you see the comparative picture existing in United States of America, in your own country, or in UK, or in United European countries, you will find that freedom of speech is not an absolute right. There are restrictions attached to it.
I know, and we just want that
you can't the communist also follows the law.
Theater.
And in case if he doesn't follow the law, he should be...
Let's talk about India. Gurmehar Kaur, the activist, what do you think about her?
On Gurmehar Kaur, I would like to tell you that the trolling which has happened against Gurmehar Kaur is extremely wrong, is extremely unfortunate, and you would be surprised to know that it was only ABVP as an organization which has filed complaint and said that the people who are doing trolling of Gurmehar Kaur should be arrested and put behind the bars. There is another side, however, which must be pointed out, that she is a political activist who has a particular leaning against RSS, and we can't say simply that she is just she is not someone who can have some purpose. Every conduct has to be seen in the context.
Does she have a right to her free speech?
Of her association with other parties is... Yeah, definitely she has a right to free speech. Definitely she has a right to free speech. And I am also having that free speech to say that she is wrong. But I don't have a right to abuse her, and I'm not abusing her. It is the online troll which has happened is wrong. And we as an organization has filed complaint that such trolling must be punished. The persons who have done such trolling to her must be punished. There is a lot of confusion as if we are the people who are trolling her. We are not trolling her.
Okay. Final question for you. Kanhaiya Kumar, should he be in jail or should he be free?
Just one addition. Kanhaiya Kumar, he should be tried as per the law of the land. And in case if the law of the land says that he has to be punished, he should be punished. And if the law of the land doesn't find him to be guilty, he would come out as a free citizen. We are not kangaroo courts. Nobody is a kangaroo court. Let the law of the land prevail.
Sir?
And in this context, we say, and in this context, ABVP, who are we to prefer? We were present on the site and we have seen him raising slogans. And we believe, as per the law of the land, a criminal law in India, Indian Penal Code, if you go by the Constitution of India, the provisions in Constitution of India, the fundamental duties which are inscribed therein, if somebody says that Bharat ki barbadi hogi, that is balkanization of India, we are not going to sit as a silent person. We also have a right to dissent, and we are dissenting in the campuses which have been controlled by the left bourgeois through a nexus between the communists and the Congress.
But why don't you beat them with your arguments instead of trying to shut them up because they want independence for Kashmir or they want the breaking up of India? Why don't you have better arguments than them?
Yeah, we are
instead of
beating
saying, hey,
them.
they can't talk?
We are beating them. No, we are protesting peacefully against it. Even in case of Feb 9 last year in JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, the recent incident in Delhi University, we have filed complaint with the police, and the police has said that the organization which is going ahead with that program is wrong. And here as a speaker, I would suggest you could ask me any question. We are writing, we are popular, we are extremely popular among students, and as a ideological force, we have been very powerful. But we will protest against them, and if somebody suggests that there will be balkanization of India, it is non-negotiable. We will protest. If we will not have legitimacy in the eyes of the people, our protest will have no effect.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. That's all for this edition of the Newsmakers with me, Imran Garta. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.